validation, so I know it's you, right? You can't just fake it. You can't just take somebody's command and quickly send it and get authorized. It's got to have to be like, it's got to be good. And so I had built this January, February, and I have no idea where I put the code for it. And look, man, it won't take me long, but it was all custom. I know I've got it. It's just, it was all custom. It wasn't complex, but when you're dealing with keys and stuff and you want to make sure your message is read properly, like you want all that to be pretty well solid. And so I know it worked good. I want to find it. I think I know where it might be now that I'm thinking about it, but like I've looked at like 7 repos. I don't have a lot of back-end repos. I usually just fork them. So I'm thinking it's actually a fork of one of mine, and that's why I'm not seeing it. And I just got to go find out which one's got the fork. So once I see the name of the fork, I bet it would be like, oh, that's what I did. That makes sense. So
yeah. I mean, I have so many games that I've lost over the years.
Yeah.
So many.
Yep.
There's some that I built in high school that I'm like, I would love to have the code for that. Just see it.
Yeah, no. Same thing, man. So many things just gone.
So sad. So sad. I'd say if I were to go back in time and tell myself to do anything, it would be organize, like take the time to organize your, let's say, repos or code, or just like put it in a place where it won't be lost.
Yep.
Where you can at least search it, where you can find it, right? Because I have lost so much stuff. As it'd be okay paying for cloud storage, maybe like just buy 2 terabytes of cloud storage, so you just don't have to worry about it. You don't have to be like, which hard drive, like which of my 5 1 terabyte hard drives would this be on?
Yeah.
And if the hard drive dies, which that happened to one of my hard drives actually, which is I'm pretty sure where my game was, you don't have to worry about it. It's just there.
Yep.
Of course, I guess when I was younger, cloud storage was much more expensive and also not that widespread. So I don't know. But yeah, I feel you. It's also just annoying. Like your brain is like, I already did this. Why do I need to do it again?
Yep.
There's resistance there. It just kind of stinks.
Sounds about right.
Yeah.
We're aligned.
Yeah. I feel like most programmers feel that, man. They're like, oh, I lost the code. F.
Yeah. I mean,
like,
and it's fine. Like I can make it again. It's not like I probably can. I probably was going to take it and improve it anyways. I think I just found it actually. Oof. But when I look, it's like 1,200 lines of code and very, very well thought out, laid out. I was really impressed with this at the time. And I don't do this often, but like I had some really cool, not conditional rendering, but like it was very, very, very detailed. And I made it so I only have to make this as middleware one time and then a bunch of authentication routes. So I can use this across everything. So I've been having fun. I know we're probably live, but I actually been converting all my backend code and getting it Dockerized or containerized, containerized. So I'm going to be able to run this with, I'm going to use Cloudflare's load balancer and run this across a couple of things because it actually opened up what I could do, and I can leverage more resources this way, right? Because I can just run these on hosts, which it's pretty easy to tear down, build up and tear down these with scripts now. So for me, I think I'm going to get more bang for my buck this way, and I don't mind managing it. So I'm excited for it. It's a lot of stuff though. It's a lot of stuff. I've been deploying it over the last week and I'm almost done. So it's like all getting ready for production. It's just those little things that'll make it feel like no matter how many people hit it, you'll still have the same experience. And you don't get that with like a static site with this much data handling. It's just, it will get crushed,
So you're building out a solid backend infrastructure for your.
Yeah. I had what I felt was solid. I was using a Heroku to handle scaling out my Node.js environment, which it does well. but it gets pricey very quickly. And containers are nice because I can run them anywhere. And and they're not latency they're not latency. I can put them away from my databases. I've got it all controlled so they can handle all of that. They don't need to be near zero latency to be next to each other. These apps were not designed for that. I learned a long time ago trying to not do that, especially when you're dealing with Web3 stuff. It's not really possible to do stuff like that. So
possible to do stuff like what? I know
like Docker very low, very low latency, like where you need to have your database as part of your Docker. I don't need to. Like I designed all this so that I don't need that kind of setup. It's very low anyways, but I know I used to remember we always used to have like these enterprise monitoring tools so that we could get it down as close to it's close. It's never hit zero, but like as close to zero as you can get, and you start getting like 10 milliseconds, 15, 20, and stuff would start breaking. And it's like, now I'm like, 200 milliseconds, we're still fine. Like, we can handle this. I just have retries. I have all sorts of like logic built in to handle that. So just slow stuff down.
Nice.
Anyways.
So I decided to jump in and really work on this over the weekend. So Friday and Saturday, I got my Markdown renderer working. I also built a chatbot called Chatty. Surprise. And so my Markdown renderer can actually load inline scenes. So I can load my chatbot inline, like just in my book. So if you want to chat with an AI at a certain point in the book, you can do that. And I'm also setting it up so that it can I can submit data, and that data will influence the rest of the book.
Makes sense.
That makes sense. So playbooks will have variables that can be determined by what users do when they're interacting with these inline scenes. So
makes sense.
I'd say I'm pretty close to having an alpha version of my of Atomic Efforts as a playbook. It's like
it'd be cool to see all that. I've been seeing your progress here and there. So it's kind of cool to see it all come together.
Yeah, I mean, I also had to set up my environment for programming in C# and Godot, and actually giving me errors back. It's not giving me errors. Maybe I just need to kill Cursor. But I've also been using Cursor, which has been awesome, absolutely awesome.
That's good.
I mean, it's like ChatGPT in your browser, all right, in your IDE. So you just hit Command K and you're like, do the thing, and it does the thing.
And it does all the things. Yeah.
Yeah. And I also realized today that I could select stuff and hit Command K and be like, I want to edit this. So I can edit this code that I just selected, and that's fetching awesome. So I can select a function that's not working and be like, fix it.
That's awesome.
Or I can talk with it, right? Be like, what is this function doing? It's like, if I select all this and hit Command L, it's like, what is this function doing?
Who knows?
Yeah, the set markdown function in the markdown label class is used to process the markdown strings, markdown, and convert it into HTML, which is then further processed into Godot control nodes. Here's a step-by-step breakdown. It's like, boom. Ain't she a beaut?
She is. It's looking really good.
Like this is just nice, man. Cursor plus GitHub Copilot plus ChatGPT. It's like I feel like I've 10x'd my capacity as a developer.
It's good though. It's definitely good to get that going. It's one of those interesting, like, I don't know how to say it, but like you can go fast, right? There's a difference between going fast and going reckless, and these are tools that allow you to just go fast and maintain some stability. You still have to check your code, obviously, I think that's necessary for anything. However, it's cool to see kind of just as you're going through this, it's kind of just see your thought process and just nail it. So.
Yeah, because it's very similar to the thought process, right? I become the thinker, not the writer. And there's a lot of power in that, because now I actually spend the majority of my time brainstorming high-level solutions to problems, as opposed to writing the code that solves those problems. So I don't have to get super close anymore. I can just kind of sit up here and tell the AI to write the code for me, and it's really nice. It's like I don't know why it's so much more effective, but it is. It honestly really is.
It's crazy.
So I don't know if you've experienced that at all in the past year. Like your capacity to code is just like taking off like a rocket. But I've definitely felt that.
I feel like I've sped things up. If I want to upload something, I will. I don't care. I just have to check it, and most of the time it's close enough. I know what I can just do faster as a human, so I do that. But yeah, for the most part, man, it's if you're not using any of these tools, there are probably some devs who won't, and I think that's okay. There's some that are doing some very complex things that look, GPT may not even be able to help them. Maybe not, but I do think for the majority of people who are doing stuff like we're doing, where we just want to rapidly build things, this is like a big playground for me. Like I love it. It's
playground
it's
is
cool.
the right word. I mean, Alex Hormozy calls it power. It's like power is your ability to turn thought into reality. My power has increased because I can now think a thing. I tell an AI to do a thing, and suddenly it's real. It already exists. And I just hit play. Did it work? Did it not? Give me some errors. Did it not? Cool. Like we did it. And then I go back and I edit it. I select the function and say this didn't work right where I do it. Like it's missing this one piece. Change it to be that. So yeah, definitely. I'm feeling powerful.
Good.
Yeah.
I found all my stuff, so I'm very, very happy right now.
There you go. Yeah. All the nice clean code.
It's not even that I don't know how to explain this. So it's not necessarily important that I had the structure of it. It was important that I got 3 key functions out of it that were very, very, very detailed functions that handle secure user authentication, right? And those are very important, and they look like I built them for exactly what I'm doing, which was the point. So I'm kind of excited. So we'll see what happens. But
this is code you wrote, right?
Yeah. There was no no GPT at the time when I wrote all this, or if it was like old crap.
Yeah.
So when I only had me, myself, and I actually find myself looking at docs more than anything these days. When I'm coding, is like I'll look at like because most of the work I do revolves around APIs. So you just I judge all the projects I work on now based on their docs. I maybe did that before, but now it's even more important for me because bad docs, all they do is slow me down because I have to trust those are accurate. And so as I'm going through like my own stuff, I'm making sure I'm putting notes in here. I'm documenting things. I get those docs outputted, and I'm working on my pipeline so that once I update the site, the doc site updates too. So it's a continuous update. I got all the triggers set up. I just gotta like my markdown gets funky, so I gotta figure out what I'm doing wrong still because I'm getting too much data. My docs are like my docs for my API show you how to do like PHP. I want curl JS and Python, but it's got like PHP, Rust, C, .NET. It's like all sorts of examples, and it's like it's a lot of code for one function, like hundreds of pages, and I'm like, this is way too much. It's like every language on earth is getting scooped up in here, and so I'll get that all. I don't know if I tweeted it yet, but I'm gonna look for somebody to just give them a couple bucks and fix this for me, because it's not that it's a distraction. I did the hard part in my mind, was documenting things. Now I want it to be pretty so people like it, and I like to give it a little more attention than I can give it right now. So I'm gonna see if there's somebody out there. Yeah. Never know.
I feel like you could use it. I mean, for me, I found using AI to write code and understand docs has been incredibly useful. Like, especially if the documentation is a little bit dilapidated, it's like the great part about OpenAI is that they have access to GitHub repos. So they have all of that code to train on. And it can, which means it can write proper code for you because it has examples of how to write it. So that's been my new approach. I actually don't tend to read the docs unless the docs are really new. Like the assistant API for OpenAI, I had to read that. Mm-hmm. Makes sense. That's okay. But for older things that aren't super well documented, the AI can write the code for me. I just had to tell it what libraries to use, and it just does it, which is great because then I just get to look at the code and not care about the documentation. Mm-hmm. It's kind of changed up the game for me, at least.
Yeah. It's the process of documenting. Sometimes I will offset, or I will not offset, but offload that to GPT. So I give it the parameters, and it does, like, I do everything in Swagger. So that's the format I picked, and I really like it, because when I'm doing my testing, I can rapidly test my API with Swagger, because it's just really nice, right? So I know that I can match expected output with what I'm giving it, and then validate that my docs are correct, or if there's something mismatched, I need to check if my API is doing it wrong or if my docs are incorrect. So it's a really nice. So the nice thing is you can do your unit testing, right, and flush out stuff like that too, right? And I want my tests to be accurate, and I want my docs to be accurate. And I want all those things to be in sync. And so I don't know. I probably could ask GPT to help with this one a little bit. I just haven't, because sometimes it takes me down a path that I don't want to go down, and so I'm guessing it's going to do that to me, and then I'm going to just say, hey, I just want to pay somebody to do this.
Yeah.
But we'll see. We'll see.
Well,
got too many things.
That's why you get cursor, and then you go to a function you want to document, and you say, hey, document this function, set markdown. Then you hit enter, and then it does the thing.
And then it does it?
Yeah, docs. And then I say,
that's not
yes,
too dissimilar.
That looks good.
That's not too dissimilar from what I do right now. So
okay, yeah.
That's actually not too dissimilar at all. Actually, I just I have what's it called? I'm looking right now. Generate documentation. Yeah. So I can add a note like that too, or I can just highlight what I want and ask it to document.
Nice.
Okay. It works really good for APIs too, because it gets you all your parameters, query fields, and options, because they're just so obvious, right? That here's the things you need, here's the optional, here's the required inputs, and I feel like it does a really good job for those.
Yeah, if you're not using AI to document stuff, like create your doc strings, you're failing at the moment. It's just, if you don't have documentation, you're already failing. Because you have an AI now that can do it for you. If you're still writing your doc strings by hand, you're also failing.
Yeah, I would say that's a fail at this point. Unless you're really, like, if that, It's the thing is like that's probably somebody's job somewhere just to document stuff, and so they'll probably
Yeah.
justify it. But if they're not using AI to help them, I can't help them either.
Well, I mean, if that's my job, honestly, I would have totally built myself a tool to do it for me on autopilot.
Oh yeah.
And I probably to like make it seem like it was so hard, that it was still taking so much time. I like the moment. Let's say someone pushes up some code with an issue or like a PR, and then they merge, and then they reach out to me and say, "Hey, we need to document all this." I'd be like, "Oh yeah, sure, I'm on it." Meanwhile, it was already done. The AI had already done it for them. Yep. They were just waiting to click send. So it looked like they were working hard. Yeah.
Hard at work, folks. Hard at work.
Hard at work. Yep. Exactly. You got it. So that's kind of like, I guess that's kind of where I'm at right now.
Yeah, I get it. I get it though. I should I haven't shared what I'm working on today, but it's cool. But it's not visual. I don't know if about you, but like I don't like showing stuff from my back end because none of it's visual. So it's weird to me to like show that code because you'll never see it. I mean, you will in a sense, but to me, it's just like, like it's kind of boring to show that. Just how I feel about it.
All right, I've got a little bit of a pickle I'm trying to solve. There's multiple problems. So first thing I'd like to try and do is create variables in my markdown that I can find and replace while they're reading the book, just because I think that'd be cool. It's like a little bit like a game. They can choose their character's game name. So like my wife's like, I want to be Shadow Fae. So she'll name herself Shadow Fae or something like that. So I just think that'd be fun. Being able to do that though, especially in a longer book, like find and replace throughout the entire book, is a lot.
Yeah,
it's a lot. So I'm actually kind of curious, like how do books that are really long, like let's say 1,200 pages or just 1,000 pages, how do they
do that?
Like,
I have no idea.
like sitting, like just loading the middle of the book, I guess. I don't know.
What do you do?
I actually don't know.
I mean, you don't index a book.
No, you don't.
How could you? Wow.
So
yeah.
Do they just read it from the beginning? And then every time I hop into like my app reader, it like blows the entire book and then it says, oh, he was on page 578 or something like that. And it just puts me there?
I don't think so. There's got to be a way, an easy way, and we're just thinking of this.
ChatGPT to the rescue.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I was just gonna ask Google, like, there's got to be some like text search where you can load in all that data, find and replace. There's got to be. Although you probably need to treat it like some type of data source that you can. Wow. Yeah. I bet it's not that hard. I'm guessing.
Going through it and finding all of my tags, saying like this is this variable, this is this variable, and storing where they're at so that I can easily find them and replace them that way. Because it's a pretty heavy process to load in all of my markdown, turn all my markdown into HTML, and then transfer all my HTML into Godot control nodes. Like that's not a light process. It's not fast either. So if every time they change their name, it tears down and reconstructs the entire book, it's like, huh. I mean, the brute force method works, but it's not always the best. And maybe I'm just overthinking it right now, and I can think of another solution later and just use the brute force method right now.
Yeah. If it works, why not?
If it works.
Yeah, I mean,
it's like a step one. Let's do it. let's do it. Okay, I think I thought of a nice way to do it, but I'll save it for the long term.
What's that?
I can effectively do a regex, regular expression search for my chapters, and then use those to delineate pages, save the page that I'm on, and that way when I update the text in the book, it's like I only need to reload that page. I don't need to worry about anything else. So it's not as expensive of a process. There's still a lot of text comprehension, but the whole process of rebuilding what they're looking at is much, much smaller, which is nice.
Makes sense.
Yeah. Okay. I also renamed my Markdown to PlayBook Markdown because PlayBook Markdown, it's not normal Markdown, that's for sure. I've already added a custom tag for loading my scenes, so it is definitely not normal Markdown. Okay.
Makes sense. It's like quiet in here today. I don't get to see like if we've got viewers or not. It kind of sucks.
Oh.
Like,
yeah.
but if you don't have any, then I guess it doesn't suck for me.
There's one person on Twitch who's watching us apparently. I find sometimes that's inaccurate, but huh. Godot is really bad at file management. Really bad.
Yeah, that's interesting. I would have. I don't know. I feel like I think we've had this conversation before. I feel like if you took the sum of all the languages and you took up with like what each one was best at, you would have like the perfect blend. And it's not JavaScript. I can tell you that. It is not. It is so not that.
Yeah.
But I was hoping. I took some time to learn Go, and I really do like that. But I also think it's got pitfalls, and just like everything, like that's like why I wanted to learn Rust, and then people like left and right were like, "It's cool," And I've seen some blockchains starting to adopt more Rust-based smart contracts, smart contract language. I know you're familiar with that, but I've seen a couple now, newer chains all going that route. And so I'm like, do I just another project I'm helping on uses it. So I like conceptually understand it, and I can read the code, and I can build a function in Rust. So that's like a big positive. Uh, it, it's just an interesting.
Can you declare a variable? That's the real question here. Yeah.
I can do. I think so. I think so. Yes, those are like they're all lets, right? Let does a lot of that. Yeah.
I don't know if I can like just hop in Rust right now and declare a variable.
I can. It's cheating because I was just looking at code earlier, so it's not really fair.
Yeah, I'm certain I could make GitHub Copilot write a variable.
Oh, I mean, yeah.
Okay. All right, research is done. Decided to table the ideas that I was having. We are just going to push forward. We're going to brute force this thing. So oh, there you are.
I'll be right back. 1 second. Ooh, my app stopped crashing. Yay.
Welcome back. Realized we didn't have any music. That's why it's been quiet.
Yeah, that'll do it. Oh boy. User authentication usually seems to take the longest.
Yeah, it does. I feel like it's one of the more complex pieces of things that you end up doing.
And you kind of want it to be right, I assume.
Yeah. I feel like, honestly, I've only set up one login system, and it wasn't overly difficult. It was just a bit tedious.
Mm-hmm. Well, I don't think it's difficult. It's weird. So like if you do like I have the Twitter OAuth I use for one of our sites, which works good, and I just store it in a server-side cookie. So my front end is simply just displaying a website, some data for you. I have a lookup endpoint so you can like, if they're authenticated, it automatically pulls their details for you essentially. And that's cool. It works really slick. It's really nice. It's a good process. Now this using wallets, right? I have to extract the wallet. I have to sign something, verify the message was signed by you, and then I can issue a web token, like a JSON web token, which is that's also easy. It's just the nuances between a password, which is easy. Like if you have a username and password, it's very easy. When you do a wallet and you're passwordless, there's some extra requirements that you have to make sure you get right. Which is cool though, because it's a cool experience, right? You don't have to have all that extra stuff. You could if you wanted, but I'm going to add Google Authenticator to this, for example. So I think it'll be nice to have. And I'm not gonna enforce it, but I'm gonna highly recommend it, at least initially.
So you're kind of using, I guess basically what you said is that you don't care where the authentication comes from as long as they're authenticated and they're, I guess, from a trusted source. Did I understand that right?
I mean, in general, I believe that is accurate. I'm simply saying you're going to log in with your wallet, your blockchain wallet. I'm going to extract your account details. I'm going to generate some type of two-way trust. Once you've signed a message and I can validate that you are you, I'm going to establish a two-way trust. And essentially it'll last for, let's say, 4 hours, right? So for 4 hours, you can use our site just like you use it if you were logging in with a username and password. So it's really just taking that concept of, instead of a password, you're just signing a command. It could just be dummy data. It doesn't matter. It just has to match and what I expect. So I don't know. I don't know if I'm explaining it right, but it works pretty slick, but it's weird when you don't have a password. Like it's all dynamic stuff. It's just weird, but I like it. It's where a lot of places are going too. So I find it to be very user friendly, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, people don't want, they don't want to care about all their passwords, which is kind of one of the solutions of Web3, right? Is that there isn't a password. You just send me a signature. You're good to go.
Yep.
Just don't lose that private key, man.
No, that would be bad.
I got tired in the last half of this. My brain's like, what are we doing? Where are we trying to go? Alright, so we've got, reload our book, we've got our markdown label here. Okay.
So I'm going to register my account by logging in for the first time. That'll automatically register me. So I'm going to sign a command. And then the next time I come in here, I'm going to sign a message that I validate. While you sign it, that your keys signed it. Does that sound right? I think that sounds right. Oh my, it's 3 already?
Yeah. All right, moment of truth. Let's see if it works. Nope.
Nope.
I forgot to put a scroll. Scroll container. There's my daughter. She's awake. Life is so exciting when you wake up, man.
Yeah.
Truly. She wakes up screaming every time. It's like, why?
Makes sense. Just little ones just cry.
Yeah. Well, I guess, does it make sense though?
I don't know.
Like she's
Not
so
really.
calm, like asleep, and then something happens, and she just starts screaming. She's still asleep. Like eyes are still shut. She's not necessarily awake per se, but she's just screaming her head off. It's a pretty common occurrence, I feel like. Ooh, that's quite the theme change. Let's go. All right, it's the second moment of truth. It didn't crash. That's what I'm talking about. Oh. Okay. All right, that makes sense. It works.
Nice.
Check it out. You can change the text.
Nice.
Let's go. And I didn't change my scroll either. Like I'm still staying in the same spot.
That's awesome.
Dude, all right.
There you go.
We have variables in our book. Let's fetch and go. Let's check it off. Complete. Okay. Well, honestly, I think I might have all of the pieces that I need. Oh, there's There's one more thing I need to do. So I gotta set up a system for chapters using a custom chapter tag.
That's what I just said.
That's what you just said?
I was looking at something and I asked a question and I'm like, that's literally what I just said.
So you found the answer really fast, yeah?
Yeah. I'm just confused.
Ooh, here's the real test. Let's see if I can pass a where we at, chump? Alright, so we're gonna test loading a scene and we're gonna change this thing's This is gonna be awesome.
It's gonna be
Are you
awesome.
ready for this?
Let's see.
Alright, so we have an inline scene. I change the name, it changes the name of that scene.
Nice. Boom.
That's great, man. This works way better than I thought it would. I will be completely honest with you. But there's a lot less text here that it has to parse.
That makes sense.
So I'm brute forcing it. I don't expect this would work as simply with a 1,200 page book, for example. But that's okay, because it works. And now we can make it better. So I think the last tool that I need is a system for chapters using another custom tag. Then I can set up atomic efforts.
There you go. Why not?
Let's go. Well, I mean, my goal is to have an alpha version of my own book built using PlayBook by the end of Friday. By Friday 5 p.m. That's the one thing I want to do.
Get after it.
Yep. So, got one more thing to do. One more tool to build, I guess, before I can start putting all my tools together to make the book.
Nice.
I mean, once I started working on this, I feel like it went insanely fast. So
yeah,
there's that.
Yeah, things start to move faster, I guess.
Well, you just put more time into it. And I decided I would force myself to use Cursor and GitHub Copilot and ChatGPT as much as possible. And you do end up moving insanely fast when you just hit Command K and type what you want it to do. It just does the thing. But it's been a pleasure, man. I gotta go.
All right.
I need to close my eyes for a bit.
All right, man. Take it easy.
Next steps. Yeah, you too. See you, Amir.
See ya.
Pleasure.
You too.